Welcome to the Topic of the Month with Kim Wardlow, an AINC original podcast. It's not easy being blind or going through vision loss, but we'll help you navigate these waters. Press on. Push forward. You've got this.
Hello, you are listening to the Topic of the Month, brought to you by the Audio Information Network of Colorado. I'm Kim Wardlow, your host. And this month in January, we have been talking about independent living and various aspects of that. So I'm super excited. Today we will be talking to Scott Land and finding out a little bit about defense training that he's done, as well as a little bit more about him and what he's doing now at the Independence Center in Colorado Springs. So when we come back, we will be here with Scott.
This is Topic of the Month with Kim Wardlow. If you enjoy what you hear, please visit AIN Colorado for more shows, news, and articles read by our amazing staff and volunteers. If you have a question for Kim or would like to recommend a guest for future shows, please visit aincolorado.org/podcast-guest. Thanks for listening and enjoy.
Hi, Scott. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Kim. Good to be with you.
Great. Well, we are talking about independent living. We're here in January. Are you a resolution, New Year's resolution type person?
Not usually. I try to set goals, as we go along, but sometimes it's difficult to live up to something you decide on the spur of the moment.
Right.
So, but it's always good to plan ahead for the new year, for sure. So I'm a big believer in that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not so much into resolutions, but I try to have some more manageable goals for the year. What
is achievable in a new year?
Right. And, right. Maybe
something successful. Yes.
Yeah, that you can actually do and have some small steps to it. So yeah, that's always a good thing. So Scott, can you tell our listeners just a little bit about you? Where are you from originally? I know you're in Colorado Springs now.
Well, I am a Colorado kid. I was born here back in the mid 60s, and I lived all up and down the Front Range, lived across the country, traveled around growing up. I was a circus clown, professional high diver, acrobat.
Oh my goodness.
So I've traveled the country. Yes, you betcha.
I had no idea you did all that. Wow. Adventurous life.
Absolutely. Life on the road, out of a suitcase, hotel to hotel, right? Event to event. So then that was a great life. I then brought that back into alignment. I've been in Colorado connected my whole life. I was a gymnastics coach, gym owner, back in the day. And so I have a really strong connection to Colorado. Of course, the whole outdoor living philosophy and, being outside and being connected to the Rocky Mountains is, really something. And if we just had an ocean, I think everything would be complete, but,
right.
You can't have everything. But, I just, was, like I say, born in Colorado and finally ended up here in, Colorado Springs, where I am now. And it's been a long, strange trip from, totally sighted to totally blind. So I've done everything and seen everything and I think I'm on my fourth life right now. So
well, I'm a Colorado native too. It seems like you don't come across Colorado natives all that often. Or at least, that aren't kids that are really little that have been born here. So that's interesting. So then you were doing all these wild things going across country. When did you start to lose your vision?
I started losing my vision back in the early 90s. I have retinitis pigmentosa, and so I went through the classic stages of night blindness, and then the classic tunnel vision, loss of visual field, and then finally my acuity went. So I was kind of slow motion. vision loss. You know, some lose it right away, some never have any. And so, you know, it's all a different journey, but here I've made it to becoming totally blind. So I, you know, tried to find out why this was happening to me, what it is. You know, can it be, you know, glasses? Can it just be nutrition? You know, what's happening? And finally I was, at an eye doctor and the young man said, I think something's going on your retina. And I, of course, had been to the doctor my whole life and no one had ever seen anything going on there. But yeah, and it turned out to be retinitis pigmentosa. And so that kept progressing until the end. And, you know, I tried to keep living my life, tried to, you know, I drove a car until I was 36. So I tried to stay in those things, but you have to make those decisions on when to change, you know,
right.
And so I had to do those things and decide to change my life and get training and, you know, and now it's a technological world. And so it keeps progressing and I have to progress along with it so that I can keep up, even though I do have, am totally blind.
Yeah. So I know from talking to others that constant adjustment as you're losing more vision can be difficult, but obviously, especially after leading the life you had, maintaining your independence would have been really important.
It is very important to have an independent life and be able to do the things that you want. And how does that work out? And, you know, I have a job now where I'm helping people be more independent and, you know, everyone has a different journey and how they come to where they find themselves and how to gain access to resources, how to get training, how to accept the new you really is what I find to be the most difficult part of the whole experience is because it took me a lifetime to get to where I am and I just don't want to start over.
Right.
And so that can be really difficult and, you know, and technology and the different way of doing things and, you know, and it's a point and click visual world. So that is a difficult change and, you know, technology is helping us keep up, but there are, you know, swipes and gestures and keystrokes that you need to know and, you know, you know, the white cane and having a travel skill and, you know, being able to ask for assistance when you need it and to be able to say, I'm fine when you don't. I mean, to be advocating for yourself is difficult.
Right.
You know,
and kind of deciding what being independent means to you, because you might want to do something. You know, not everybody wants to rock climb or, you know, do different activities. But if that's what you want to do, then, you know, that impacts what your definition is of being independent.
Oh, I think so. And, you know, it's, you know, it is a brave new world and there's lots of opportunities to, do what you want. And, you know, and with technology, you can find someone that has your specific, interest level and what you might want. And like I say, it's difficult to find out what that is and what I might want to do. And, you know, can I incorporate who I used to be into who I am now?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can go in a totally different direction if you want to as well. You know, sometimes that's the hardest thing is that you get to be somebody totally new. But, you know, sometimes that's the best thing is you get to be somebody totally new. So you get this opportunity to reinvent yourself every day and, you know, but sitting down and adjusting to, you know, acceptance that this is the way things are is the hardest part I find.
Right.
That, just, you know, and then understanding what does that mean? And is it going to change? And, you know, if I do something today, will I still have that tomorrow? And, you know, are you constantly going to be learning things, which, you know, is a wonderful life, you know, always learning something new, meeting new friends, going in new directions. You know, sometimes that is the spice of life is, something new. But you know, in my blindness journey, I love consistency.
Mm-hmm.
I like when it's the same that it was yesterday. And, you know, sometimes that's too much to ask for,
right?
You know, certainly with computers and things like that, you know, you get your update and then everything is new and in a different place and it's just not operating the same that it used before. And, you know, that was right here.
Right.
And now it's not.
Right.
So,
well, and some of those things I think challenge all of us, no matter what our level of vision is, like the ever-changing technology definitely can be challenging.
Yes, and I think that's a journey as well, is to find like-minded people. And because sometimes I thought I was the only one. Of course, I'm the only blind person, and sometimes I run into a situation where I am the first blind person to come across this way and to want to do these activities. But people are really, I find, open-minded these days, and wanting to help and wanting to assist and just wanting it to work out. And so they give you an opportunity. And I'm not saying that it's always like that, because you find, situations where, you can't get there from here as well.
Sure.
But it's, there is an opportunity to find the thing that you want to do and make it work for you. That is for sure. And that's what I try to do, at the Independence Center. That's what I was doing with self-defense. That's what I try to do in my life, and traveling and climbing mountains. I've been mountain climbing with the Auto Information Network, and, it's just, a wonderful thing.
So were you, I know you have been an instructor, a self-defense instructor. Were you doing that prior to losing vision, or, is that something you've, kind of done all along, or is that something new to you?
Well, I grew up as an athlete. I was, played most every sport. I played football, basketball, baseball as a 7-year-old, and then you find your own way, and everyone seemed to get a little taller as we got older. And so I had to find, you're banging heads with people that are a little bit taller than you are. And so that can be difficult. So you find a different sport and you find your way to the individual sports. And so that's what I did. I played a lot of soccer and springboard diving and gymnastics, and went in that direction. And I became a gymnastics coach, and did that for most of my life. Owned several gymnastic schools, and in the gymnastic business, the sports, of course, are gymnastics and dance and cheerleading and karate. And so I've done a lot of those things in my life. And so I have taken taekwondo and jujitsu, and we just, like I said, we just used to call it karate back in the day. And depends on your style. So I grew up doing that. Also, as a younger person, I was in Golden Gloves boxing, and did the Police Athletic League. And so grew up doing that. So I figured that I was pretty, comfortable with myself, able to handle myself in most situations. You try not to push your way into things, but you try not to back down either. And so that was the way that I grew up. And so I have done those things before. But as I went blind, I had a crisis of confidence, and, how am I going to do this? And it was quite emasculating of how am I going to be able to defend myself when I can't even see that someone might be looking, hard at me. And how am I, if I'm being tracked, or if you're in a certain situation. So I didn't know what to do.
Right. And I think that can really be, that's a valid concern. If all of a sudden, am I safe going out? If, even if I've learned travel skills and all of that, and I'm confident in that, I still can't see my surroundings. So how can I feel safer, going out into the world without my sight? And I can see where that could really impact someone's feeling of independence, feeling afraid. And so how does that work? How do you teach that? How do you learn self-defense? And what type of self-defense then have you taught individuals who are blind or visually impaired?
Well, I ran into a one-touch program that's jujitsu, which is joint locking, joint breaking. And, the thing you want to be able to do if you're in a situation is be able to, injure that person before they injure you. It's not really self-defense where you're blocking kicks and you're trying to do that. You're trying to, if you are attacked, and, God forbid that people are attacked,
right,
but they are, you want to be able to stop that. And that is, by injuring, the predator, and if that's just a thumb in the eye or a chop in the throat, or you break a wrist, or you create pain and a neural reflex in that person so that they are injured and they are on the ground. And then that gives me the ability to walk away because, I can't run away either. You see the threat and you go walk the other way. The best way, not to get hit is not to be there. Of course, like Mr. Miyagi used to say. And but when you're blind, that isn't always an option.
Right.
And then, of course, being aware of threats and, being aware of where you are in space and the things that are happening around you. And of course, there's an old joke in self-defense where the two big strong guys are talking about, well, if I was in a dark alley and this guy came up on me, this is what I would do, and hit him there and chop him there, and then no, I would do this and use this maneuver on him, and then one of the young ladies comes in and she's a high level black belt, and they say, well, Susie, what would you do if you were in a dark alley late at night and a guy came up to you and started to attack you? And she goes, well, I would never be in a dark alley late at night. And so
right. There's some prevention.
There's some prevention and some awareness. You don't set yourself up for those kinds of things. And like being blind, I know where I'm going and people know where I am. And I know where the site that I'm trying to get to is located. And I'm trying to, have planned my route in advance, not just show up and this is the wrong pole. And I don't know where my entrance is. And I've got to cut around this. And so, you set yourself for those things. And then of course, a lot of people walk around, looking lost and looking incompetent. And that could be, a sign to others that this would be a person that you might want to, confront or attack, right, or take advantage of. An easier target. That's exactly it. And so you look confident, you carry yourself well, you know where you're going. And that's not usually the people that, predators want to, mess with. You don't portray the wounded zebra. And so you don't come across that way. And so that's the way that you can handle yourself. And so, but that doesn't always work out and bad things happen. And so it's good to have some techniques and to have had some forethought about what you would do rather than just trying to, scratch and kick and scream, which of course, shout fire.
Right.
If there's a situation, because someone might not come and help you. That's what they say. If you're being attacked, help me, I'm being attacked doesn't always draw a crowd, but fire does.
And I've heard that as well.
Knowing and what to say and how to say it, and then of course how to handle yourself, being able to strike someone, being able to joint lock, being able to joint break, being able to take someone down and help them fall and injure them is the way, and that requires some training. There's another saying as well, as if you're on your sailboat and it goes down a mile off of the shore, and what are you going to do? Well, if you haven't been swimming or you haven't swam in a while or you don't know how, you're going to find it difficult. But if, you are swimming and you have been in the water and you are comfortable with these things, you're probably going to survive. And, you take action, you get off the X, and of course, heart goes a long way. And the will to win and the will to survive is a lot of things, but certainly having some foreknowledge and some practice and some technique is a great advantage as well. And plus it can be overpowering, and that can give you the confidence to feel that, you can take care of yourself, which is in this world, confidence goes a long way as well. And so, that's what, go ahead.
Does it take a lot of physical strength to be successful at defending yourself with that one-touch technique?
Well, it really doesn't. I mean, when you turn the arm the right way and you push the elbow, or you turn the wrist and it comes right apart, it's really not that difficult. And plus it can be like a bear trap where, someone doesn't expect a blind person to be able to handle themselves or have the awareness or the physical ability to do that kind of thing. And, from being a senior citizen or somebody with limited mobility or, a high level athlete, you can, use these techniques at will. And of course, it's a little bit different when you're blind than it is when you're sighted. I mean, you can't hit the moving target, which is difficult. And I'm not saying that you can't, but you really have to wait until someone comes in. And most of the techniques that I was teaching are from having hands on. Someone has grabbed you. Right. Someone's putting their hands on you. And of course, the nice thing about that, when someone grabs you, you know exactly where that hand is.
Yes.
So, there's no groping for it. And then, what hand it is, how you're going to turn it, what technique you might want to use, and how you're going to operate. And it also gives you a chance to measure the threat. You certainly don't want to hurt somebody who's just trying to get out of the way, or, it's Uncle Charlie at a party, or whatever it might happen to be. And then of course you're always going to have your opportunity to strike or use your technique or defend yourself and of course, create devastation and break something in the opponent. That window is going to open for you, but you just have to be patient. And, and of course, if you have some training and that, you're probably you are more calm in that situation, and you're more willing to let it come. And you use your percentages. Most people are right-handed, and so that they're going to attack you from their right, with their right hand. Mm-hmm. And so you play those percentages, and those things that help you give you an advantage.
Right. And I know we've talked a lot about in different interviews, just in conversations I've had with people, there are those people that try to give you the inappropriate help, like, oh, you're standing in a corner, you must want to cross the street, and they, grab you and start to walk you across the street. So, like you're saying, there may be times like you don't know, you may want to try first saying, oh, I don't need help crossing the street, and differentiating, between that and a true attack, but still having that ability when you realize, oh no, somebody's attacking me. They're not just trying to aid me in a way I don't need.
Well, yes. And you assume a defensive posture, you advocate for yourself, you address the threat, mm-hmm. You can break the release, sure. You can, swim someone off, but if you're actually in being blind and you're in an altercation, right. you want to hold on to that person, keep control of the wrist, keep control of the arm, bring someone in, and create the injury, because if we're actually struggling and I let them go, well, then they're out there in the mist somewhere. Right. And so hopefully they're going to go away, which I've had several people, try to just rip the backpack off of my back, try to, take my things as I'm, traveling down through Denver. And so you show someone that you're not who they think you are. Mm-hmm. They've left. I mean, I haven't run into anybody that keeps coming, but there are those people, mm-hmm. and there are those situations, and you want to be able to defend yourself up to that point,
right?
And if they keep coming, well, then you need to be devastating, and you need to end it by injuring that person, and that that's dislocating an elbow, that's chopping in the throat, that's putting your thumb in their eye, mm-hmm. Creating like I say a neural response, a neural reflex, so that it's just so catastrophically painful because they're broken,
right.
that they cannot continue the attack, and then they're down on the ground, and you call 911, and you take care of the situation, but that requires a little bit of training, a little bit of forethought, and you can be as devastating as anybody. That's for sure.
Right. If someone is interested in this type of training, where would they go to look for this type of training?
Well, you should take some self-defense. There are lots of jiu-jitsu studios around. There are boxing. There are gyms that you can work on self-defense. And like anything else, sometimes you need to find the place that has experience dealing with people with visual impairments, someone who's willing to take you on, because these techniques are, thousands of years old, and it's not anything brand new, mm-hmm. but someone that's willing to work with a blind person, right. I'd say that can be difficult.
Right. That was going to be my next question. Are there particular places or, I don't know, independent centers or DVR that, would offer training specifically for people that are blind or have other disabilities?
Well, and there are, and you just have to take a look. I don't know of any agencies. I mean, we're running in the Independent Center right now. We're having Tai Chi going on right
mm-hmm.
now. And so, those techniques are the same, even though it's a meditative exercise, but, arm movements and philosophy are the same. You just need to create that, create the strike, or have some forethought on how you're going to use that to your advantage. And my Tai Chi instructor believes Tai Chi is the true way. I mean, he has experience in all kinds of other katas and disciplines and forms, so he's able to transfer it. So, but it is out there. You just need to find the right resource, start looking in that direction, making phone calls, finding out who's in your area, and but jujitsu is a great way to go. Boxing is a great way to go. Something where you can handle yourself, become physically fit, and become strong in that direction.
Well, that's great, Scott. And I think that's really encouraging for folks to know that it's possible, even as a completely blind person, that it's possible to learn techniques and defend yourself. I think the first time I met you, we were on a trail going up a basin, and at the Audio Information Network of Colorado's hike, Bringing Print to Life hike. And I think that was the first time I met you. And at that point, you weren't at the Independence Center yet. But I know shortly thereafter, you started at the Independence Center, and you've mentioned some of the programs they have. Do you want to talk a little bit more about your work at the Independence Center, and if a person lives near a center? I know there's different centers around the state. What they might expect to find from an Independence Center.
Sure. Yes. When we met, climbing a mountain, I was teaching jiu-jitsu. I was a vendor for the state. So I was out there, teaching people with visual impairments, self-defense, and self-empowerment. And then I was looking for work. And
because COVID hit, and so that kind of put a damper in everybody's work life.
Oh, definitely. And I found the Independence Center right as that was just starting up, and I've been looking for work, for the past 5 years, and I was a Division of Vocation Rehabilitation person, and went through the job coaching and the resume development, and was doing all the interviews and going along that way. And I, of course, wanted to still stay in the athletic world, and that was difficult. I mean, how does a blind person observe their class? And so I found it difficult, and sometimes there was some resistance on how I would work with a group of people. I mean, I was in the kid business for a long, long time, and it wasn't going along well. And I had been on, dozens of interviews, and suffered the rejection of, oh, you're blind, that kind of thing. And it's always difficult to know, when do you tell someone that I have a visual impairment?
Right.
During the application process, or as you show up at the interview, when I come in the door with my white cane and ask where the seats are, or where someone is, they pretty much know.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in today's world, they must have a valid Colorado driver's license. You see that on a lot of interviews or applications as well. So it was difficult to find the right person, to get in there, to find the right company, somebody who was willing to work with me in the way and accommodate me, so that I can give my knowledge and experience to the business at hand. I found the Independence Center, which is a center for independent living, was looking for someone, and peer counseling is what I do. I also do the low vision and the older individuals who are blind at RSIL. But they wanted a thrust in recreation, and, COVID was, hitting and coming through, and people were isolated and, not outside and living a life that they wanted to live, and so not being as active as they can be. And so they wanted to put a recreation program together. And of course that means fitness and nutrition and, living in the community. That could mean the show, the movie, going out for dinner. How do you do that? That's travel. That's, living the independent life.
Right.
And so how do we do that? And so they've given me an opportunity to put a program together. And so we're doing a lot of recreation. I mean, I come from the hard nuts and bolts of, being outside and climbing a mountain and skiing and river rafting and then, indoor climbing and archery. And so those are some of the things that we're doing now. And, we have, consumers that have all different types of disabilities. So it's not just blindness. Mm-hmm. And so, that can be, people in chairs, that can be limited mobility. That, of course, can be, vision impairments. So how do I get a group of consumers to an event? We do, archery, once a month. And so I take 16, consumers to a place called Archery School of the Rockies. And they're just so wonderful. There are, many ways that you can accommodate somebody who has limited mobility or is in a chair to shoot a bow and arrow and be on target and, receive the benefits and the feedback of, having the discipline, having the confidence, task completion. Mm-hmm. And it's just a great thing. We're also doing some indoor sport climbing at a place called, City Rock down here in Colorado Springs. Also we do a community outing at the Roadhouse Cinemas, which is a wonderful place. I don't know if you've ever been to some place where you can have dinner and a movie at the same time in the same place. Fun. Those are fun. And they have, audio description for those of us that are visually impaired. They have the closed captioning. We're able to, get our own theater and have just wonderful food. And they're treating us very well. And so, like I say, the Independent Center has really allowed me to make the program what I think it might happen to be. And then, of course, I do peer counseling on helping people through lived experience, find the resources, find out what independent living means to them, mm-hmm. How to advocate for yourself, how to, accept the new me, all those things, through support groups. I facilitate a traumatic brain injury group at the Independent Center. And, as I researched and went through the Independent Center, I found out that I have a mild traumatic brain injury. I suffered 3 concussions, a pretty good one, as a younger man. And so, loss of consciousness can put you in that category. Mm-hmm. And of course, learning about behaviors and the way that your brain works and things that have happened to me and the ways that thinking that, this could have affected me. Plus I used to hit a soccer ball with my head several thousand times a season. So, and, repetitive, injury is out there as well. And find that you really want to, treat your head better than we treated ours, I think, growing up.
Right.
So
it's, and I'm curious about something you said earlier. You're taking the groups to do archery. So how does that work if you have vision loss?
When you have vision loss, I'm going to just call it a riser, that comes up off the floor. It's a post with a little, rod on the end where I can always put my hand in the same place.
Oh,
and then there's, 2 little, as it comes back across the floor, there's 2 markings for where you put your feet. So I can always set up the same way. But then, you need to draw horizontally, you need to do full extension. You need to, release, at the right time and be smooth so that you can, keep your target grouping, consistent.
Sure. So there's all the techniques and learning those are still involved, but that at least, those markings help you be safe and you're not pointing your bow and arrow at people or in the wrong direction.
Oh, definitely. And, and there's always an accommodation for people with visual impairments to do that sport. I still, downhill ski. Mm-hmm. And when I had RP, I used to be a follower. And now that I'm totally blind, there's a person behind calling my turns.
Right.
Turn right, hold, turn left, and then stop was always a good command. But, there's skiing with that person and building up a rapport and, what commands are we going to use? Are we going to use the clock? Are we going to use the, degrees? How are we going to, communicate back and forth on, getting down the mountain and orientating in through the space.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course there's, when I play golf, of course, there's not a lot of accommodations in golf. That's pretty funny. The only accommodation they really give you in golf is, if you know golf, they let you ground your club in the sand trap.
Oh,
and of course,
okay.
That's really the only accommodation they give you in golfing. But it's, of course, I have a partner that helps find my ball, which makes things
Sure.
go a lot smoother.
Sure.
But there's always something that helps you, participate in that sport. And then, being blind, I use a human guide.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still am running, 5Ks. So I use a leash out there, and I have a wonderful gentleman, Dave, who's just a most wonderful runner who runs with me every Monday. I run with a group called Achilles International and do some races and practice and participating and getting out there and, just having the confidence and taking a risk I'd like to try this and, make a phone call. Would you think about this? And there's a lot of opportunity out there to do that these days. You just have to ask that what if question,
Mm-hmm.
which, what if I was to come and we could try this? And most of the times it's yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, try it in a different way, find a different location, because these things are possible. And it is we can live the life we want. That is for sure.
Right. The accommodations are out there. And then just in terms of, so independent living centers have all kinds of programs. They have the basics for somebody who's just lost vision and needs the travel training and needs some of the base foundational types of training. But the centers are not just for folks with recent vision loss. It could be somebody who's progressively losing vision or is an athlete and they're looking, for a program like the one you have at the Independence Center in Colorado Springs to be able to do adaptive sports and find out about those types of resources. So, there's different levels depending on where people are at in that journey of their vision loss.
Oh, absolutely. And, and that's the, advocating for yourself and finding the resources that you need. And a Center for Independent Living is just one of those resources that you can use, with the vocation rehabilitation, the National Federation of the Blind. There's so many different things out there these days, and something that's local to you, somebody that you can be in communication with on a consistent basis. And, our center, yes, we have people who are newly blind, someone who's young, someone who's old, someone who's a senior. There's lots of programs out there. And that is really what we do for people with all types of disabilities is connect them to resources, connect them to training, connect them to, support, so that they can be more independent, just from maybe you just need a piece of technology, or you're looking for access to a community, or you were, hoping that you could find someone that's in the same situation that you are, depends on what it is that you're looking for. But, a Center for Independent Living is a great way to start, because we have programs for people with all kinds of disabilities. Mm-hmm. And, and blindness specific. And so we can, if we don't do it ourselves in-house, we certainly have the connections and the resources to point you in the right direction and give access to what you need, cause it can be a journey, just from getting your SSDI to finding some, your Medicaid, your Medicare, how to get your benefits rolling, how to find something in the community that's going to access, your current situation. So they are a wonderful connection to make. And there are 9 CILs here in the state of Colorado. So you can just, Google that or search that or whatever your, information technique happens to be, and look them up, whatever part of the state you might be in.
So even a person that may live in a more rural area, they may not live in the city or town that has an independent center, but they could look up in their part of the state what's closest to them.
Yeah. So, I mean, we cover a 9-8 county area.
Mm-hmm.
We're up in Teller County. We're over in Calhoun. We're Lyman. We're close to the Kansas border. So we cover our area pretty heavy duty. We have some outreach and, if if you're not coming into Colorado Springs, we can certainly, help come to you and bridge that gap and make that connection. Because that is what we do is try to help people live a more independent life. And sometimes, when you're out in the county and, you're in a rural area, you can seem pretty isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And, and how to bring the world to you. And hopefully, internet is a lot of that. So we do computer technology, we do technology, or it's resource training or resource connection or mobility, just how to get safely through your home,
Sure.
how to cook, how to live the life that you want and provide for yourself in an independent way. And, it seems rather trite, but that's certainly what it's about.
Yeah. Well, Scott, I so appreciate you taking time to speak with me today. I think you're not just living an independent life, you're living a pretty fun independent life with all the activities that you're doing. It sounds pretty fun and social and a very full life.
Well, and thank you very much. And I do, you take a risk and you try to, introduce yourself to people and reach out and make connections. You really can't wait for it to come to you. You have to go out and find what you want in this life and make it happen, for yourself in certain situations. And I certainly want to, help that in consumers that I run across and, people that I just run into on a daily basis is, have fun and communicate and live a better life and live a good life.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks again. I hope we'll see you on our hike again this summer. It's always great to see you. Maybe have a few folks from the Springs come up. That would always be great.
Absolutely. And I try, I promote the Audio Information Network. I think they're a great resource. They're just a super connection. There's, just from the community connection to the information connection to, the entertainment connection. It's a wonderful thing. And then with the audio information checkers and being able to provide all the things that go on with the great work that you're doing. I just appreciate you so much and the things that you do. So thank you, Kim.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to our podcast today. Our topic will be switching to transportation and some various aspects. It's such a large topic, so we're pulling some different aspects of that for February. Our topic will be transportation. Also, always want to remind you about Aftersight and Blindsight, our other podcasts that are available to you. And if you are willing to leave a review and a comment on whatever platform that you are using to listen to our podcast, we really appreciate that. That's very helpful to us. So I hope all of you have a good week, and we'll be bringing you more information to help you lead an independent life next week. Bye.